Welcome to this explainer on SAP Enterprise Asset Management. Look, if you've ever stared down a system with over 150 dense, highly technical interview topics and just thought, how on earth does all this connect in the real world? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to unpack the absolute core of SAP EAM. And to make it real, we're going to do it by following the dramatic, high-stakes lifecycle of a single, massive factory pump. We'll trace its entire journey, literally from the moment it's installed, through a pretty catastrophic breakdown, all the way to its predictive, AI-driven future.
So, let's just lay out our roadmap really quickly. We're breaking this massive ecosystem down into 5 neat chapters. 1. The foundation. 2. Proactive preventative maintenance. 3. Work orders and breakdowns. 4. Materials, costs, and settlement. And finally, 5. Analytics and innovations.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the SAP EAM Foundation.
Before we even think about maintaining our massive factory pump, we have to actually bring it into existence inside SAP. This is where our master data foundation starts. First up, we create a functional location using transaction ILO1. Now, don't think of this as the machine itself. Instead, think of it as the permanent, fixed address in the plant where our pump is going to live. It's totally hierarchical. So it might be, Plant 1, Building A, Floor 2, Pump Room. That address, it stays exactly the same no matter what happens to the physical hardware that's installed there.
Now, this is a super important distinction to make. The foundation is that fixed functional location, the empty space essentially. But the pump itself, that is the movable equipment, which we create using transaction IE01. Let's say our pump just completely fails and needs a massive factory overhaul. We can physically unbolt it, remove it, and drop a brand new piece of equipment into that exact same functional location. The physical machine changes, but the history of that specific location stays totally intact.
So, you've got this core trio forming the absolute bedrock of our assets data in SAP plant maintenance. You have your fixed locations, your movable equipment, and then, crucially, measuring points and counters, created via IK01. You attach these counters right to the equipment to track stuff like operating hours or vibration levels. It basically gives the system a live pulse on the asset's health.
Moving right along to Section 2, Proactive Preventative Maintenance. All right, our pump is officially set up in the system. Our main goal now? Make absolutely sure it never fails on our watch. But that brings up a really strategic question. How do we actually know when to service this thing before it breaks? SAP has 2 main scheduling strategies, so which one should we be using for an asset this critical?
Here's the deal. Performance-based maintenance is just way more efficient. Time-based schedules trigger completely blindly, like let's say every 30 days. It doesn't care if the pump ran 24/7 or if it literally sat idle the entire month. Performance-based schedules, on the other hand, trigger care based on actual wear and tear using those counter readings we just talked about. If we set a cycle for every 500 operating hours, we're servicing that machine exactly when it needs it. It saves time, it saves money, and it just makes sense.
To put all this on autopilot, we build a maintenance plan using transaction IP10. We just assign a maintenance strategy with specific cycle intervals, maybe monthly inspections or annual overhauls, and then we just let the system do its thing. SAP evaluates those counter readings or the calendar dates and automatically generates the maintenance call objects. The system is literally tapping the planner on the shoulder, telling them exactly when the service is due.
Which brings us to Section 3, Work Orders and Breakdowns.
Okay, so reality rarely goes perfectly according to plan, right? Despite all our best proactive efforts, picture this. You're out on the shop floor, and suddenly our massive pump starts vibrating violently. It's making this terrible grinding noise, and then boom, it shuts down entirely. We have just instantly shifted from proactive care into corrective maintenance. Total reactive breakdown mode. The very first thing that happens is an operator grabs their device and creates a malfunction notification, specifically an M1 type, using transaction IW21. This is the official red alert to the maintenance team that the equipment is down and needs urgent attention.
Now, we absolutely do not want the operator just typing a vague note saying, "Pump's busted." The notification catalog steps in here to ensure we get structured data. The user has to explicitly code the defect using the damage catalog, maybe flagging it as severe vibration. Then, later on, the tech will use the cause catalog to note exactly why it happened. Maybe it was bearing wear, and they'll identify the specific object part. Getting this structured data right now is like absolute gold for root cause analysis later on down the line.
That structured alert pings the planner, who quickly converts it into a maintenance work order. And this order has to travel through a really strict life cycle. It starts at creation, then the planner hits release, which officially authorizes the work to begin. Materials get delivered. Once the wrenches stop turning and the physical work is done, it reaches technical completion, and finally, business completion.
Okay, listen closely on this one, because the difference between TICO and CLSD trips up so many people. TICO, or technically complete, just means the technicians have packed up their tools. The physical fieldwork is done. But the accounting? Not even close. CLSD, or business closed, can only happen after every single invoice is paid and all those open costs are settled. Hitting CLSD permanently locks the order from any further financial activity.
Let's talk money in Section 4, materials, costs, and settlement.
Fixing a busted pump takes two things, right? Spare parts from the warehouse and the cash to pay for it all. When the planner is building out that work order, they know they need to order a new bearing. But thanks to the Equipment Bill of Material, or BOM, they don't have to guess or go digging through a dusty paper manual. The BOM is linked directly to our pump's equipment record, so the planner instantly sees and selects the exact compatible spare parts needed for our specific machine. It's totally seamless.
So when the tech actually walks over to the warehouse and grabs that bearing, a goods issue is posted using a 261 movement type. This does two things the second it happens. It immediately drops the warehouse inventory count, and it charges the dollar value of that bearing straight to our work order. And hey, if they grab an extra part by mistake and bring it back, no problem. They just post a 262 reversal, and boom, it credits the order right back.
By the time the pump is finally humming again, that work order has soaked up a whole bunch of actual costs. You've got the material costs we just talked about, internal labor hours that get confirmed via IW41, maybe some bills from external contractors, plus general overhead. Once all these costs are pooled together, we use transaction KO88 to perform a settlement. This basically scoops up the total financial burden sitting on the work order and hands it off to a receiver. Usually that's the cost center of whichever production department actually owns the pump.
Finally, let's zoom out. Section 5. Analytics and future innovations. All right, the pump's running, bills are paid, but what did we actually learn? How does this one single failure help improve the whole factory? Well, because we forced everyone to use those structured catalog codes during the breakdown, management can jump into the Plant Maintenance Information System, or PMIS, to analyze what went down. They can pull up metrics like mean time to repair, how fast do we fix it, and mean time between failures. Most importantly, they get crystal clear visibility into exactly how this specific breakdown impacted the factory's overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE.
But modern SAP S/4HANA, it goes way beyond just looking in the rearview mirror. It takes all of this rich historical data and feeds it into Asset Performance Management, or APM. APM lets us deeply analyze the risk and criticality of all our assets. It's the engine that helps us shift entirely away from these chaotic, panic-driven breakdowns and into a highly optimized predictive maintenance model.
Let's take it even further. Imagine our physical pump now has a literal digital twin hosted in the SAP Asset Intelligence Network. This is a perfect, virtual 3D mirror of our pump pulsing with real-time IoT sensor data. Vibration, temperature, acoustics, you name it. It mashes up this live data with our maintenance history to literally predict the next failure before the physical machine even starts acting up. It's wild.
This creates an absolutely futuristic ecosystem. And it's not just the back-end servers getting smarter, it's the edge of the network too. We've got machine learning spitting out insights, IoT data streaming through the business technology platform, and even massive enhancements for linear asset management to track miles of pipelines or railways. Technicians are out there on the shop floor totally empowered with beautiful offline-capable SAP Fiori mobile apps, knocking out lean work orders with just a couple of taps on a screen.
But with the system getting this smart, where it literally knows the pump is going to fail before the operator does and automatically orders the exact spare part from the BOM, it leaves us with a huge question to ponder. As AI and digital twins take over all the heavy lifting of prediction and planning, how will the role, the skills, and the day-to-day reality of the human maintenance expert on the shop floor actually evolve? It's an incredibly exciting frontier for EAM, and definitely something you should be thinking about.